organized a similar workshop last year, but then there was only seed companies in the panel, and now there are no seed companies in the panel, they are still in the audience. And this is going to be an interactive workshop, so you all have 2 cards. You can vote, so I will first give a short introduction to the subject, and then I've prepared several propositions, and each proposition will be commented by one of the panelists, and after that you can vote. And, well, we can use your votes also for our policy in the future, to see whether you agree to certain things or not. So we will really use it. I will first introduce the panelists to you. On the right-hand side is Gert Kögeler. He's working for Eosta, and that's a wholesaler in organic fruits and vegetables. Next to him is Stefan Dreesmann. He's working for the Niedersächsisches Ministerium of Agriculture and Environment. And next to him is Klaus-Peter Klaus-Peter Wilbois from FiBL. And he's the manager of the organic X-Seeds database that some of you might know. And to the left for you is Ben Raskin from the Soil Association, and he's also working on organic seed regulation. So first, I want to ask you, why should we use organic seed in the first place? I have some reasons that will pop up later, but I like to hear some comments from the audience. Why should we use organic seed?
Close the cycle.
Close the cycle. That's very good, because that's the first one I have to do. 100% organic product. What else?
Varieties that fits on organic food.
Adapted varieties. Yes, that's also on the list. Other things?
Consumer expectations.
Consumer expectations, yes. Well, I think you mentioned some important things already. So I think if you ask consumers, that many consumers assume that organic products are originating from organic seeds. So that's one of the reasons. And it's also a wish of the sector in itself to close the cycles, to use 100% organic feed, 100% organic manure, and 100% organic seed. It also helps you to lower the risk for residues. We had some incidents with especially with crops that have only a short time to grow, like spinach or other crops. But if you use conventional seed, you might end up some residues from the seed still in your product. And it's also good to have it in mind that often for those crops, the seed production takes, well, at least 4 months. It takes longer than production of the crop itself. So how organic is your spinach if it's not from organic seed? It also helps us to become less dependent on some companies that don't want to invest in organic. Because the companies that invest in organic seed, they take the wishes of the organic sector into account. And you cannot expect that the companies that have nothing to do with organic, that they listen to, for instance, the breeding techniques that you don't want to use. And it was mentioned before, to stimulate organic breeding. The use of organic seeds is a first step towards organic breeding. There are several examples where seed companies, conventional seed companies, first start to produce some organic seed, and after a while they realize they also have to do something in breeding. And it doesn't always mean that they start from scratch, but it means that at least when they decide, in the field trials they will have a look which varieties are best suited for organic, and they will have some organic field trials. So breeding doesn't always mean you have to start at zero, but you can also select from all the conventional varieties available, the best suited for organic. I will shortly say something about the rules for the use of organic seed in the organic regulation. Well, if you look at the current organic regulation, the use of organic produced seed or propagation material is obligatory when it's present. So that's the basic rule. And there are still many possibilities to get a derogation if there's no seed available or not the wanted variety, or for field trials and for conservation of varieties. So there's also in the rules that the availability must be presented in a national seed database. And we come to that later, but there's still a huge difference in the database. Sometimes they are more like a PDF file, and sometimes they are really up to date every day. Each member state has to deliver an annual report to the Commission about the derogations. So I think by now the Commission has a load of this with derogation reports. And for crops, there's also a rule about the EU annex, and for crops on the EU annex, there's no derogation possible. This sounds good, but this list is empty. And the implementation of those rules varies a lot between member states. And one of the the different implementation in different member states causes some problems for the farmers, because that means there is no level playing field. Now I come to some best practices of this implementation. It started in the Netherlands, but now already several countries, also Germany, France, Belgium and Sweden, have a national annex. And that means that there is a list with crops for which no derogation is possible. And of course you need clear criteria to decide which crops should be on that list. And you need some experts to decide if there is enough organic seed available to put those crops on this list. And this system is also developed in different ways in different countries. But there are also countries, like Denmark, I visited them last year, they do it differently. They say, well, we just look if there are suitable varieties, and if there are many suitable varieties, and a farmer asks for a derogation, he gets an expert on the phone, and this expert says, well, if you need this kind of variety, you can also use this one, because they are equivalent. And it works quite well, because Denmark has a lot of cereals and grasses, and they have hardly any derogations on this. But they need someone on the phone, an expert, to answer all the questions of the farmers. So you need to have that in place. Stimulate organic variety trials, that's also something that helps, because we see in some countries there's a lot of organic seed put on a database, but the farmers don't know the varieties, and then they are not really to use them. And there's another rule that is quite simple and very effective. For fruit trees we use it, and for potatoes, you say to the farmers you have to use, or you have to order your product before a certain date. Because a fruit tree can be produced organic, but not if you want it tomorrow. It takes at least a year and a half. So you have to order it in advance. And if you make that obligatory, okay, you get only a derogation if you have ordered your tree on time, and it can still not be delivered. It really works. Same with potatoes. We experienced that in the Netherlands too. When we started with our annex, some farmers would just wait until the organic seed potatoes were sold out. And now we say you have to order before the 1st of February, which is a very normal day to order potatoes. And if you order later and there's no potatoes, sorry, you cannot grow potatoes anymore. There are also several countries that work with a percentage rule. So they it's mostly used in cross seed mixtures. So they have a percentage of organic seed and a percentage of conventional seed. Whether this is allowed under the organic regulation, that's still doubtful. But the fact is that many countries use it. And well, it seems like a good way to raise the use of organic seed step by step. Well, another best practice from the seed company side is that as a seed company, if you want your farmers to use organic seeds, you must make sure that you start producing the most wanted, most desired varieties in organic quality. And of course, we need stimulation of organic breeding to get more adapted varieties. If varieties have an added value for the farmers, they're more likely to use it as well. Main obstacles. Why do we not have 100% organic seed yet? Because it sounds very good practices, but still in reality, most of the seeds used by organic farmers are still conventional. The E-regulation is not very stimulating. I've shown you that every member state has to fill in a derogation report. But it doesn't really say a lot. We should have reports on the progress and use of organic seed. That would be much more useful. There's no level playing field for the farmers. It's really a problem. There are still not enough suppliers and supply. We really need more seed companies to use organic seed. Why are there not enough seed companies? They say, well, there's no clear demand. I can produce a seed, but then the farmers can get the derogation. Why should I? It takes a lot of investment for a seed company. And there are also still some technical problems. It's really not so easy, especially for the biannual crops like carrots and onions, to produce organic seed, enough organic seed. And the seed companies present here can tell you everything about that. So we need also more research to solve those technical problems. Then a problem from the market, from the farmer side, is that the market in general does not pay a premium for organic seed. So you can imagine for a tomato it's not such a big deal because one tomato seed can give you around 40 kilos of tomatoes. So even if the seed is twice as expensive, who cares? But if you look at onion or carrots, the seed price makes, well, maybe I look at the farmers, half of the cost price, a lot. So it really makes a difference whether you use organic or conventional seeds. And there's a problem that for some seed companies, they are a bit uncertain or doubting to step into the organic market because there's this uncertainty about the breeding techniques, which one can be used or not. I'm nearly finished and then go to the propositions. Well, as you all might know, currently there's still negotiations about a new regulation. We first had a proposal from the Commission, then we had a proposal from the Council, so that's the Ministers of Agriculture from all the member states, and then we had a proposal from the Parliament. 3 different proposals. And we're now in the stage that those 3 parties are sitting in a room, negotiating, so we're not quite sure what's going to be in a new regulation on seed. But I think we can be sure that the use of organic seed and propagating material remains obligatory. That's in all the proposals. The Commission proposed to end the derogations after 2021. Personally, I don't think that will stay in there. There are not really rules to promote the production and use in the regulation. That's a pity. The Commission also presented a new organic action plan, and then there they mentioned an EU database. That's one of the goals, and we come to that later. And the Parliament, they also said, well, there should be an article about the national annex. And that's something that we and also iForum lobbied for, because we have seen that a bottom-up approach, where you start in your country to make a list for the varieties that are available in your country, is really working well. And we also lobbied for an annual report about the progress, so that the Commission gets a better view of what's going on, what needs to be done, instead of all those derogation reports that in fact give you no information. Maybe to explain that, one derogation can be for 1 kilo or for 1 ton. And there is also a non-derogation list. So in your, so there are still many crops where no organic seed at all is available, and you will not find them in the derogation reports. They are just not visible. So, now we come to the proposition. The first one is for Stefan Dreesmann from the Ministry. I don't know if I have to read it aloud or you can have a look again. To increase the production and use of organic seeds, a proactive role of the national or regional competent authority is crucial. I mean that, or with this proposition, we mean to say that if you have regulation and the government does nothing to implement it or to have a policy, nothing will happen. So maybe you can respond to that.
So, Maaike, is it also possible to make lots of question two? Make it together?
Yes, but I would like the audience to vote on both. And the second one is to increase production and use of organic seed, and national annex should be obligatory. First, this one. I see you don't have a mic, so maybe you can come here for a second. I didn't give me a...
Thank you very much, Maaike, for this date here. And it's very nice that so many people are here and listening to this, I think, important question. It's not, normally it's a discussion with experts, not many people, and very nice that so people are here from Europe. I'm working since 14 years in the Ministerium. My main task is organic agriculture, and from beginning on, also seed production, organic seed production. We also know each other with Klaus-Peter, we know each a long time with the seed database in Germany. To these two positions, if we need competent authorities, I think yes. And I will explain a little bit the way in Germany. It's, I think, nearly the way also in the Netherlands. We were a little bit earlier in Germany, but I think normally now we go in the same way. I moderate 2 expert groups in Germany from the competent authorities. You know, we are a federal state, we have 16 Bundesländer, we have many seed companies, we have advisors and so on. And there's 2 expert groups, one with agriculture and one with vegetables. And we start these groups in 2003. And it's a group who discuss all these things about organic seed production and how we come forward. The groups are normally 20, 30 people. And it was also good, I think 2006 or 2007, we were in the Netherlands. We had a discussion together because the Netherlands starts also with this annex, but at that time we were not so at the state, but we discussed it also. And we see if we have not an annex, we come not really forward. We come forward with this good, very good database organic seeds. We have a much transparency about organic seeds and thousands, I think, nearly of varieties therein. But in sometimes with some crops, we have to go more forward. So in 2009, I think we began about a national annex to discuss it. It needs a long time because Maaike explained it. It needs time. We have to know how is the demand, where are the seed producers, and also I think it's also important to have a good atmosphere between us, between the seed sector, the producers, the agronomists, and also the governments. So, and we discuss how we come to a national annex. We have clear rules for each crop. And for us as a government, we said we can do it, but we know they accept it from the sector. And so we need a little bit more time. In 2014 now, we start really with this national annex. And we go step by step, and now in 2016, I think we have nearly 15 different crops, normally from agriculture. We have maize, we have also potatoes, like Maaike explained it, we have the same way. And I'm very lucky that we go now the way, and I think it gives really an inspiration for the sector to do more and more. So I think for this question of Maaike, if we need competent authorities, I think yes, we are like a moderator for this sector. We go forward, and I think yes, we need a national annex, and we also need a national annex because you know the price for organic produced seeds are much higher, and we know that many countries have not this annex, and they produce more. They have not so much costs than in Germany or in the Netherlands. So I think it's good to begin the discussion also in Europe, in 28 states and also outside of Europe, for more organic seed with these two positions.
Thank you. So if I understood you correctly, Stefan, you agree with both propositions, but you even agree more with the second one. We not only need a proactive role of the competent authorities, but we need this instrument of the national annex to facilitate it.
I think we need both instruments.
Yeah, okay. Well, now you can use all your cards. So do you agree with the fact that the statement that the proactive role of the competent authorities in the member states is crucial, necessary to move forward?
And Green is yes or
Sorry?
Green is yes?
Yes, green is yes. No. So you can raise your card now, please. There's one, oh, two, green and red. Maybe you can explain why you have two cards.
Yeah, well, I'm Martijn from Bionext, and I have two cards because I think it's important. But I also think that commitment from the growers who buy the seed is even more important.
Okay.
If they want it, you know, we can have rules, whatever we want, but if the growers are not committed, you know, what?
Thank you.
Yeah, but if you look at the government, it's green.
Second, oh, you want to comment? Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I'm Annemarie Kruijs of the Bolsterzaal from the Netherlands, and I just want to add something to what Kruijs is saying. I really agree the growers also has to commit to the commitment, but I also think the whole sector has to commitment. Also the wholesalers who are taking the product of the growers.
Yes.
And I think there we can make an improvement, because what I was saying in the beginning is that the consumers of the organic products, they really expect organic seeds, that the products they buy are from organic seeds. And I think there is really some big improvement to do, because if they really know what they are buying at this moment, they would be very disappointed, I think. So I hope in that part is really...
We come to that later. There's a proposition for the wholesalers as well. Yeah. Thank you. So now the second position, whether or not a national annex should be obligatory. And I think this is very important to know what you think about this, because this could be the case with the new regulation. That if the Commission agrees that there should be a national annex, I expect them to make it obligatory. And personally, I think the Commission will not say, well, you can have it or not. That's. So, would you be happy if that would be in the new regulation? Please. raise your votes. If people don't understand the question, they can ask me, then I will explain more.
And if you would comment, then you can do it.
Oh, please keep it up more green than red. But I see few more red than that. Yes. There's a red over there, yes. This lady with the glasses, yes. Can you stand up? No. Oh, you want to have red too?
Yes.
Yes, good.
Well, the question is now to have a national
Introduce yourself first.
Klaus-Peter, organic farmer from Austria. The question is now to have a national annex or not. The question is who and how to define the criteria when a crop has to be listed in it. This is the difficult and tough question, not to have an empty list or not an empty list. So this is more a formal question. The criteria are the difficult part.
Okay. Someone else with a red card who likes to comment? Yes, please stand up and explain yourself.
I'm from Belgium. I had a red and a green card because I think I'm in favor of a national annex, but I think it's also very interesting, although I know it's not always possible, that also on European level there is something where we can base on. I'm sure that for some cultures there are possibilities that Europe can set forward some things, and I think we need probably the two.
And what do you think that, can you give an example? What would you like to have on a European level?
I can't give an example at the moment, but I suppose that there are some other cultures, not only vegetables, but other cultures, some big cultures probably, where there are possibilities to go beyond only the national annexes. Also the fact that in some countries we can have the same varieties that are usable. So if you only have the national annex, then there is a problem, probably there is a possible problem for the level playing field in between farmers.
So you would rather have an EU annex actually?
The combination of the two.
Okay. Of course, there's in the end, if every country has a national annex, it could lead to an EU annex in the end. Okay, thank you for that. I would like to move to the next position, and it's for Klaus-Peter Wilbois. Well, we have all those databases in different countries. They're often now only in the national language. So for a foreign seed company, if they want to put their seed on a Greek database, for instance, you actually need to understand some Greek. And there are more examples of that. So from that idea, there have been some plans already to organize and to develop some central access that will connect to all the national databases. And this should increase the availability of organic seed in many countries. So, and Klaus-Peter can explain a bit more about this idea. Please come up here.
I think I'm staying here. I'm speaking up.
You can hear it in the back?
You can hear that? Okay. So thanks, Maaike, for that. Well, first of all, I would say if there is any database in the respective country, we have a lot of countries where there's none whatsoever. So that is not quite according to the regulation, but that's the whole other story. As I said, the situation is different in different countries. In some of the countries, we have a very well-developed seed market, organic seed market. The business was already going 20 years ago. So it was rather developed, and from that point, it developed further on. But on the other hand, we have a lot of countries where there's no business, organic seed business. Especially the Eastern European countries, the newer EU countries, they don't have any organic seed available, usually, and they don't have a need for a database. So they save a lot of money, and they don't have a database. So, to me, in the first place, in such especially in such countries where the business is not developed, transparency is of utmost importance, because if you want to start a business, you have the chance to be transparent with your offer. People must see your offer, must see your seed supply offer. So therefore, I think databases are crucial, and in my opinion, it's not sufficient to have sort of a list, an Excel file in the internet somewhere buried in the ministry website, but you have to have a proper website with a good functionality. You can look up all the seed, you can search for seed for certain varieties and so on. It needs to be really a proper database, otherwise you can skip it, in my opinion. So it's all about transparency to start the business. If there is transparency and the seed suppliers can make their seed transparent and the farmers need to buy that seed because it's in the regulation, if there is organic seed available, you have to use it. And then the seed market can grow. Other members of the seed market can join in and broaden the variety choice, the assortment. And then you can have a business started. But on the other hand, if you don't have the transparency, if you have a shitty database in the internet somewhere, nobody knows where it is, then the seed suppliers say, okay, nobody recognizes our seed supply, so why should we do the job to multiply, which is really costly effort, to multiply organic seed? So nobody knows about it. Then you can get your business stuck. And that is the situation in some countries, even in the more developed countries. Nobody cares about or to put seed on the database because the database is not fun. So that's what I think about databases. They are crucial, they need to be in place, and it should be really proper databases. With regard to a national databases versus an EU-wide database, that's set from the Commission. On the one hand, the Commission decided to propose a EU-wide database. And on the other hand, the same Commission writes in the regulation all the nationalities in the EU should have their own national databases. There's a contradiction, at least in my opinion, and those two things, they cannot brought together, at least not by the Commission or by the rulers, by the policy makers. But I thought it over quite a while and came up with the idea that we have actually both. We have an EU-wide database, especially for the seed suppliers, where they can put in their seed in their language, maybe in the 5, 6, 7 main languages in Europe, and they do not care about Polish or Bulgarian or whatsoever. They just put it there in a database, in a sort of a router or router database, and then we have interfaces to the national databases, which are according to the regulation. So we have the best of both worlds. We have the seed suppliers, they can easily feed in their seed supply, and they tick on for which country the seed is suitable, and on the other hand, we have national databases, and they grab the seed that is suitable for their countries from this interface, fill it in the national database. I think that is the way it could work, and for me that's crucial because we need to display all the European organic seed offer in every country, as long as it fits for the farmer. There's no point in offering the farmer seed that is not suitable for his production. So that's a clear point for me. But we have a whole lot of organic seed on the market, and the seed suppliers are keen on selling more of this. So we need to display it in all the country, and that's, in my opinion, is the way to come forward.
Yes, thank you. It's a very clear story, I think. So it's time to vote again for you. So do you think this? Do you agree with Klaus-Peter that this would help? So it doesn't mean there's one uniform EU database, it's more that there is an access point for the seed companies that links to the different database, and they can tick on in which countries the seed can be, certain varieties can be used. And then, of course, there can be a check on the side of the national database to see whether those varieties are really fit, or they can be used in field trials. There's two sides to the story. If you think this is a good idea, then take your green card, and if you have any objections, please use the red one. It's mainly green. One green and red, and one red. So with the red card, please state your name first.
Okay. My name is Francesco Riva from the Italian Ministry of Agriculture, Organic Farming Office. Now, the only problem with the central data bank for all European countries is that for me the most relevant thing is a specific breeding for organic, and to transfer the national data bank at European level could drive in the opposite direction, and the big companies could be involved in organic and re-establish again a not specific breeding for organic. So I think we have to pay attention mostly to direct in the right direction the breeding and the activities for specific genetical selection. Yes. And the rule of the data bank is to serve, to be useful for that main objective.
Yes. So you say, well, what's most important is that there's more investment in organic breeding and that the varieties are really suitable for the organic farmers. Yes. And you're afraid that this kind of database will help them to spread the seeds, but not will motivate them to do more on breeding.
No, but there is a problem in the who manage the breeding
yes.
and at which level.
At which level, yes.
So I think that a national level could be more efficient
yes.
for that.
Yes. But to make to be clear, there will still be national database, and the national manager of the database can still say, well, I don't want these varieties on my database because I think they're not suitable for the farmers in my country. That's still possible. It's just that you have a better view of on the offer side, because now there is many seeds offered in the market, but sometimes farmers have no knowledge of that, and it helps if there is a database, and at least as much as, well, we increase the transparency of the seed offered. But I understand your point. Yes?
Useful, but not mandatory for farmers.
Yes. Okay, I see a hand in the back, but I'm looking at the clock and we have more. So maybe if you have time, you can respond at the end, okay? Because I have a few words to add. Do you also think that this central access will help the use of organic seeds? If it's more, if we, like Klaus-Peter said, at this moment there are many countries where there's hardly organic seed database functioning. Do you think that if we have this system that would really, and there's more seeds shown on the database, that would help in farmers to use it? Or do you think, well, most farmers don't use the database anyway? Sorry, first we have voting, so you can all vote again. And if you don't understand the question, then please let me know. Many people don't vote, no opinion.
No, it's a bit mixed.
It's a bit mixed.
Yeah. Because people can still look for other varieties that are not on the database. You know, so
okay.
think
well,
it's
if
more
you...
in all the regulations that you have to, then in the database, because people still choose another variety.
It's the question whether it would help.
Yeah.
That's the question. Will it help? So please raise your hands, your cards again. Do you think this would help farmers to use organic seed? Yes, please. Can you explain why you think it would help? Which country are you from?
Spain.
Spain. Okay. You think it will help?
Yes, as centralized for us, I think, my opinion, I think it will be good for us, no? This way we can look for different things to grow.
Okay, thank you.
The main reason, no? The main reason for that.
Yes.
In fact, we are looking for seeds to grow in Spain, and it's not easy for us to find them.
Yes.
And clearly, we are trying to do it, but we have not the access to who has these organic seeds.
Yes.
Clearly, for us, it could be very, very interesting.
Yeah, because now you have to search everywhere and to ask the companies, do you have some seeds for me organic? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Mark?
My name is Romero from the Eosta. But also there's a difference, of course, between availability and suitability. You can say it's suitable, but maybe not available to all countries, because when you introduce a variety, and then you have now talk a central database, that demands a lot of seed. Often when you introduce a variety in organic, maybe you have enough for 1, 2, 3 countries, and you spread like that through the years. So I can see in the central database that yes, suitability you can answer. Availability will then depend a bit on what country has got seed. Maybe the other ones don't have that same variety available.
Yes.
That's a market.
That's a problem for the seed companies. That I don't know if everybody could hear what Ron was saying, but of course the seed production has to be scaled up year by year. So if they put a new variety immediately in all the countries on the database where it could be useful, then it might get a problem that is in many countries there's a shortage. So for seed company they could also say, well, I'd rather sell it first in this country, and if a year later I also put it in another country on the database.
But isn't that still possible with central access, that it's
yes,
divided per country?
Yeah. Yes.
Can you explain what central access means?
I did already. Okay. You missed it. I'll explain to you later. The lady standing there, she really wants to comment and she does not agree. Please say your name first and from which.
I'm Todorova from the Bulgarian Organic Association.
Yes.
I was breeder. Now I've finished my project with breeding for organic farming. And I think it's a good idea to have, from a bureaucratic, from organizational point of view, such good organized organic seed database. Okay, but I think it is an obstacle for the regional countries to develop programs for breeding, for organic breeding. I can give some examples with Melissa officinalis from Bulgaria, or I can give you many ones. Melissa officinalis is species, with many sub-species in Bulgaria, many varieties, and we have own varieties, but in our gene bank. But they are not developed in breeding, not multiplicated, and Bulgarian breeder buying from Germany.
Right.
Or I think such idea will be to give more power to Dutch and other Western companies producing seeds. Now I don't mean negative, is respect for good breeding experience in these countries, but it will be really an obstacle, hindrance in German, really obstacle for local breeding initiative and for the institutes who are not in all countries in Europe, maybe Eastern and South European countries, the breeding institutions are not very well cooperative, not very good working together with companies.
Right.
There's a connection between research breeding and breeding for praxis, for selling, quickly production. Is not in every country well developed, and I think this idea is good from the administrative point of view.
Yes.
But the idea is not stimulating breeding in Europe, and despite not discussing about other continents.
Yes.
If Dutch people sell seeds all over the world, if they are located locally adapted, and there are many, many questions. I think.
Okay, thank you for this comment. I think it's clear. There's certainly also a need to promote the breeding and availability, multiplication of locally adapted varieties. And you say, well, we want the typical Bulgarian varieties to be marketed and to be bought by the organic farmers.
Maybe you can start some project for every European country to look what they have in the gene banks. In the local gene banks, they are really very interested genetic old cultivars, but they are not multiplicated for organic production. Maybe this would be a better solution. I don't know.
Maybe we can do both.
Or both, yeah.
Yes, yes. I would like to have your contact later, and we can keep in contact on this. Thank you for your comment.
Maaike, could I give us
Sorry, don't interrupt. We have only 10 minutes, so you can say something later. Yes. The fourth proposition is saying that organic farmers will only use more expensive organic seed if it has an added value for them. And I would like Ben Raskin to respond to that.
Thank you. So in the UK, my experience I think has been there's probably three drivers that will use farmers and growers, make farmers and growers use organic seed. Partly they want to, so if, there are a certain proportion of dark green, organic farmers, and in a previous life I was one, who just would use them because why wouldn't you? They're organic seed, I'm an organic producer, that's what feels right and that's what I want to do. And probably there are a lot of them, but small volume. So they're smaller growers, they tend to be. Or else there might be the legislative incentive, which we've heard a bit about, that can force growers and farmers to use the seed. So for instance, in the UK, we have members within our organic government that would like an annex, but it's not compulsory, and the big central government won't accept it unless it's compulsory. And as a result, there's not very much enforcement of using organic seed on the ground. And then there's the added value bit, but how do we define value? What is added value? Is it yield? Is it open pollinated for more resilience? So for different growers in different situations, adding value will be different. It might be something about removing risk from the supply chain, or perhaps enhancing truth, if you want to put it slightly differently. But that, what does a consumer expect? Well, actually, it might just be, I have to use organic seed because otherwise, I'm losing that trust. It might be an extra return. So we're working with one company that's potentially going to pay more if the grower will use 100% organic seed. And then there is a fourth potential one, although I've never seen it, which is that the retailers force their growers to use organic seed. And they say, I will only buy from you, I won't pay you more, but I'll only buy from you if you use 100% organic seed. We don't have that situation in the UK. So coming to the second proposition, that seed companies therefore have to invest in organic breeding. My view is seed companies will only invest in organic breeding if they can see a stable, long-term market for their seed. Of course, they're a business. But there's many ways of encouraging that. So we've heard about annexes, we've heard about percentage approaches, which has worked quite well in the UK in grass seed and potato many years back. But what's most important, I think, in developing that market is a shared vision. And that's a vision between the retailers, the government, the growers, the certifying bodies, the seed companies. You know, we all have to be going towards that shared vision. And in the UK, we have a government that is less than supportive. We have retailers that are even less supportive than that. So when we hold our seed working group meetings, the certifying bodies turn up, and sometimes the seed companies turn up, and one officer from the government occasionally turns up. We don't get farmers, and we don't get retailers. So that's a problem. So I guess in the UK I see a problem of an unsupportive government on one side and an unsupportive retail sector, and we are very dominated in the UK by 4 or 5 big retail companies, and in the middle the seed companies and the farmers are squeezed.
So do I understand right, you don't agree with those propositions? Okay, thank you for this explanation, Ben. It's up to you again. So first, this one, who agrees to that? Not only, the problem is in the word only. Okay, so you agree it's important, this added value, but not only. You agree with Ben then? Okay. And what about the second one? You just raise it and you can, yes, you can comment on that, please.
No, I think it's important that the seed companies do that, but it's not only up to them to do it. So you cannot force them, you have to make it attractive.
Right.
Motivate them.
So you also agree it has to be something that the whole production chain is committed to?
Yeah, you cannot force the seed companies to do it.
No.
There must be interest for them.
Seed companies already invest in organic breeding.
Can I maybe say something? I think it's really important for the audience.
You can see that the seed companies are not so happy that they're not in the panel this year, but please.
Now, I think, because we want to invest also in organic breeding.
Yes.
Yeah, if the market is ready for that. But we see nowadays that a lot of the national annexes are blocked because growers only demand very conventional bred varieties. So that's what they want at the moment. So why should we breed in another way? If that is, if you look at the big request, the big bulk of seed, it's all conventional bred varieties.
Yes. Yes.
So and also you made a comment firstly on the technical problems of seed production. I also want to say something about that. We can talk later about it, it will be very short. We can produce as much organic carrot seed as you want. It's more an infrastructure problem, and for everybody here, we have some organic carrot seed if you want to have it.
I didn't mean it personally, but I know of some companies that started organic and dropped out again because of the technical problems. And there's many seeds produced that are not on the database because the quality is not good enough. So we have some problems with seed quality as well, and they have to be solved. That's. Someone else wants to respond to this, or we have only a few minutes. We go to the last one. Yes, please stand up again.
Well, I believe it's important to see the broader context. We have a legal obligation for farmers to use organic seeds.
Yes.
But purchasing those on the market is just one possibility to fulfill that obligation. We have agricultural systems which rely heavily, even in the organic sector, on purchasing seeds as a commercial input. But we have other agricultural systems in the European Union which do it in a different way. We have an increasing trend of closed circulation efforts. So, the administrations have a legal obligation to run a database, but there is no defined procedure how to judge suitability upon who and why and when. And there is also, and there have a skewed look of the reality, and this is why it makes the problem so difficult and complicated.
Okay, thank
Finding
you.
the appropriate solution is needed.
Thank you. We have to really go to the second or the next one. Well, this is mentioned by several people already, and I will ask Gert Kögeler to respond to that briefly. He's from Eosta, one of the wholesalers in organic fruit and vegetables. Do we need seed commitments on the use of organic seeds from companies like yourself?
The answer is yes, but with a few buts. Annemarie over there was saying, yeah, the consumers, they don't know about this. They think everything is organic, also the seeds. We get a lot of questions from consumers through retailers. So they send emails to retailers, the consumers, and they come to us. And we have to answer questions about Gentech in organics or CMS or but they expect everything is already organic, also the seeds. So we have to do something together. The thing is only, how do we do it? If we do it right away, that will be a big problem. A lot of crops won't be available. But what I would like to say here, maybe you have to make a long-term plan together with seed companies, with traders, with retailers, but maybe a long-term plan, and every year some stepping stones, so that we start with 1 or 2 varieties, and we discuss what the period can be when it is available, and then we make some steps. Everybody is looking at each other, retailers or traders or seed companies, and I would like to do it together. And I think it's possible, and it's good to do it. So I say yes.
Thank you. I have one second question for you. I will just immediately. And this is, of course, one of the other points. So commitment, what does commitment mean? And of course it helps if the wholesalers will ask for the growers to use organic seed and make a deal with the seed companies like you were suggesting. But what about the crops that, and I'm talking especially about crops where the price of the seed has a huge part of the cost price. Do you think it's fair to ask the retailers or wholesalers to pay a premium to the farmers if they use organic seed?
It's a no. Well, I think if we do it really good, and somebody was saying in the audience, maybe we have to make certain varieties only for organic, or to have promote certain organic varieties for the organic market. There is room for that. I think then you can ask automatically a better price for the products. At the end, the consumer has to pay the product. The grower has to buy the seeds. But it's the whole chain. I think so if we do it together and we see if there's space in some markets for certain varieties, then it will, the market will do that. He will take that. It's now too much that we look at the conventional products and we do the same in organic. And we as Eosta are trying to do that, do it different. To look at conventional, what's in the store, and try to have new varieties and then only for organic. I think that's necessary.
Special products.
Special products, yes.
Thank you. So in fact you say yes, you say we should do it in the whole chain and make sure that you get a better price for your organic product originating from an organic variety, and then each will pay.
Consumer has to pay.
Yeah, but then the farmer will get a better price for his product.
Of course.
Okay. The consumer will buy for the
Please raise and ask for this.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a farmer from the Netherlands, organic farmer, but I think that will not work because the consumer, he will go for the lowest price on the end. So I think it's necessary that we have rules over all the nationalities in the EU, the same rules. And when you do not make a good law for this, then it will not work on the end. I think that's the most important. And I think we have to start with think that. We cannot do that in 1 or 2 years. It needs a few years to go on the end to good European rules. I think that's where we have to work on.
I agree. We have to, sorry.
No,
I don't
that's
know if
okay.
that's the-
Yeah, sure.
Of course we have to make rules, but who makes the rules? The government, I think. We have to start somewhere as a organic sector and then make the rules when it's available.
Yes.
I agree with that, but we have to do it together.
Yes.
From farmers and the whole chain. That I agree with that. But not only in a few countries.
Yes.
We need it over all the EU countries.
Yes. Okay. I see many fingers, but we have to close because there's going to be a next workshop. I'm sorry. And next time I will ask for an hour and a half. But for now, you still can have a vote on the first one. So do we need commitment? And I expect a lot of green here. No obligation, but...
Time's over.
And what about the price thing? Someone wants to say, do you think it's the retailers or the, well, maybe the word, I mean the person that is buying a product from the farm, the one that someone has to, that not only the farmer has to pay the actual price. So please raise your card for this one. Red. Well, this gentleman there, he has green and red. Yes, but would you like to explain?
Price is a very complicated thing. You have to let it go the way it goes. You cannot oblige somebody to pay more. That sounds ridiculous to me.
Okay. Let the market do its work.
Yes.
Okay. Very clear.
If I may, because I wanted to intervene. I work for a control body and I see some misuse of the database by wholesalers of seeds. They see it as a platform for relatively cheap communication and monopolizing the market of seeds. So I want to propose to those who manage this organic seeds database to see it also as a platform for selling products through the internet. And what we see elsewhere on all these sites where you can buy any kind of thing is that you include a line for the appreciation of the products that you have received from this supplier. And that you give a thumb up or a thumb down for the supplier, because I've seen suppliers that say, yes, we have all of that organic, and then farmers, they are not used to this, they order, and then they receive something else.
Yeah, well, that's a very good thing you mentioned, and in fact, they have it in Denmark, because there all the varieties are tested, and if they are not proven well in a field trial, they get a negative mark, and if they are recommended, if they're tested and they are very adapted to organic, then they get a positive mark. And it works well, so thank you for that comment. There's still a lot to say about this subject, but I'm looking at the time and we really have to stop. If you would like to know more about this, please leave your card with me and I will keep you informed on, because there's a lot of things going on this subject. We organize more meetings, and I would like to have a big applause for the people in the panel here.